Welcome to the White Coat Ceremony for the class of 2026 at McGovern Medical School. Students, please be seated. I would like to extend regrets for our Vice Dean of Admissions and Student Affairs, Dr. Margaret McNeese. She was unable to join us this afternoon. I'm Dana McDowell, the Associate Dean for Admissions and Student Affairs, and we are delighted to welcome members of the class of 2026 and to have so many of you here this afternoon to witness the commitment of these young people to a life of compassionate service. Because this is meant to be a time for reflection on their commitment and new responsibilities, I ask you to refrain from photography during the ceremony. There will be time to take pictures after the events of the afternoon. It is my pleasure to introduce the other members of the stage party. Dr. John Hancock, Executive Dean of McGovern Medical School and Hightower Distinguished Professor in the Medical Sciences. Dr. Eugene Toy, Assistant Dean of Educational Programs and Professor of Obstetrics and Gynecology. Dr. LaTanya Love, Dean of Education, Executive Vice President, Student Affairs and Diversity, and Associate Professor of Pediatrics. Dr. Sheila Lahode, Associate Dean for Admissions and Student Affairs and Professor of Pediatrics. Dr. Mark Horman, Vice Dean for Educational Programs and Professor of Pediatrics. Dr. Ball Reddy, Assistant Dean for Admissions and Student Affairs and Associate Professor of Family Medicine. Dr. Aaron Verstemming, Professor of Neurology. Dr. Amalia Guardiola, Associate Professor of Pediatrics. Dr. Gregory Hessler, Assistant Professor of Psychiatry. Dr. Mark Farney, Professor of Internal Medicine and Pediatrics. And Dr. Shira Goldstein, Assistant Professor of Family Medicine. We would also like to acknowledge our very special guests, the clinical faculty who lead the McGovern Societies. These are our mentoring communities that foster the professional identity formation and development of all of our medical students. They have shepherded the class of 2026 through their transition into medical school and will continue to support their development as student doctors while they enter into their initial clinical training with patients under the guidance of community preceptors. That will begin this spring. In their capacity as McGovern Society leaders, their investment in shaping the way our young trainees engage in patient care and how they practice the art of medicine is paramount in our students' overall development as future clinicians. We thank them for their willingness to be committed to this important role. Will the McGovern Society leaders please stand to be recognized? You may be seated. Today, you continue the journey of your medical education as you have now completed your first semester of preclinical education and you embark on your preceptorships. Our school was founded in 1970 with an incoming class of just 19 students. And over the past 52 years, we have grown into one of the nation's largest and most competitive medical schools, with more than 5,000 applicants competing for the 240 spots in our incoming class each year. Students, there are no shortcuts on the journey you are undertaking. However, the faculty, administration, and your classmates, as well as your family and your friends, continue to support you along the way. Your classmates ultimately will be your future colleagues, and most certainly, you will build lifelong friendships in your tenure at McGovern Medical School. We applaud you as you move forward in your medical education journey. It is now my pleasure to introduce to you our Executive Dean, Dr. John Hancock. Dr. Hancock also is the holder of the H. Wayne Hightower Distinguished Professorship in the Medical Sciences, the John S. Dunn Distinguished University Chair in Physiology and Medicine, and serves as the Executive Director of the Brown Foundation Institute for Molecular Medicine for the Prevention of Human Diseases at the University of Texas Health Science Center at Houston. Dr. Hancock joined the McGovern faculty in 2008 as chair of the Department of Integrative Biology and Pharmacology, and in 2012 became the Vice Dean of Research and Executive Director of the Institute of Molecular Medicine. A graduate of the University of Cambridge in the United Kingdom, he trained in internal medicine and hematology oncology before entering his doctorate at the Institute of Cancer Research in London. He is a fellow of the Royal Australian College of Physicians and a member of the Royal College of Physicians. Prior to joining UT Health Houston, he served as a research director at Onyx Pharmaceuticals in California and was deputy director of the Institute for Molecular Bioscience, University of Queensland, Australia. He also was on the faculty at the University of Queensland as a professor of molecular cell biology and professor of experimental oncology. Dr. Hancock?
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here today to share in this really special milestone in your lives and careers. The white coat is symbolic of the great profession you have chosen to pursue and symbolic of the physician's very privileged role in our profession. It's wonderful also to see so many friends and family here with you today to celebrate. Dr. Arnold Gold, founder of the Gold Foundation that created the white coat ceremony, was a pediatric neurologist who cared for children with serious neurologic disorders, some life-threatening, many with limited treatment options at the time. By watching Gold at the bedside, trainees learned firsthand the powerful marriage of a skilled clinician and a physician with a compassionate heart. Dr. Gold understood the value of symbol and ceremony when he began the white coat ceremony in 1993. And every time you put on your white coat, you're making an implicit promise to become the very best physician you can be. Alumni and friends of McGovern Medical School generously sponsored this year's white coats. The donation of these white coats typifies the generosity of spirit and camaraderie that is fostered at our school and far beyond your undergraduate medical training. It is yet another symbol that from this day forward, you're a member of the McGovern Medical School family. Almost 8 years ago now, the medical school was named in honor of John and Catherine McGovern, and we're proud to honor that name and to be the McGovern Medical School, where our students, residents, alumni, faculty, and staff carry on Dr. McGovern's ideals of excellence, humanism, and compassion, all attributes that our guest speaker, Dr. Eugene Toy, embodies. Dr. Toy is double-boarded in family medicine and obstetrics and gynecology. He's been a clerkship director and faculty with the University of Texas Health Science Center in Houston since 1997. In April 2015, he was named an assistant dean for educational programs and professor and vice dean of medical education in the Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology at McGovern Medical School. He is director of the doctoring courses at McGovern and continues to be clinically active. He serves as medical director of the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, Texas Levels of Maternal Care Verification Program, and he is chair of the American College of Gynecologists, Texas District. He has served as chair of the Texas Neonatal Advisory Council and Perinatal Advisory Council and has worked with Texas legislators and the Texas Department of State Health Services to help design, implement, and oversee the perinatal designation system. Over his career, Dr. Toy has held various roles in medical education, including residency program director, clerkship director, fellowship director, GME committee chair. He is creator and lead author of Case Files Books for Students, which has now expanded to over 22 titles and has been translated into 18 different languages. Among other honors, Dr. Toy is a 2020 recipient of the University of Texas Regents Outstanding Teacher Award. This is the highest award that the University of Texas offers. He's also National Service Award from the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, Best Overall Clinical Teacher at McGovern 3 times, and the Herbert L. and Margaret DuPont Master Clinical Teaching Award. Please help me welcome Dr. Eugene Toy to the podium.
Well, before I get started, and I have to make sure that I talk about the time that I start, because Dr. Lahode says you only have 10 minutes, and she's timing me, so this doesn't count right now. So before I get started, I really want to commend our Office of Admissions and Student Affairs for just putting together such a fantastic ceremony, picking such a great venue, and most of all, recruiting all of you, the best and brightest. Let's give a hand to our... Dean Hancock, Deans Love, Horman, McDowell, Lahode, and our clerkship directors, friends, family members, and most of all, our principal participants, and that is the amazing McGovern class of 2026. It's my distinct honor and privilege to be able to provide a few words of encouragement to you during this auspicious occasion. Now, the white coat that we wear didn't just create itself, but the fabric instead was woven by fiber, and in this case, many times by cotton. And cotton grows especially well in a warm climate like we have in Texas. It grows from a seedling to germination and flowering, and then eventually emerges in what's called a cotton boll, B-O-L-L. So it's not a cotton ball, but it's a cotton boll. So it looks something like this, if any of you have seen one. Now, when we talk about cotton, we have to acknowledge the Africans who were enslaved and exploited. And while yesterday's injustices cannot be forgotten, thankfully today, we also celebrate the rich heritage and culture and accomplishments of many Black Americans, many of whom are our greatest physicians. So once harvested, then three processes occur for this cotton ball. So first of all, it's the ginning process. So that's removal of this cotton ball from the rest of it. And then it's the spinning process. And after that, it's the weaving process. So it's GSW. Notice alphabetical order. Don't worry, you're not going to have a quiz after that, students. So ginning to me is kind of like when the cotton is separated, similar to the first 2 years of medical school. It's a little bit painful, removing misconceptions and then refining knowledge. And after the ginning process, then it's the spinning. So that's the S in GSW. And so it's stretched and it's weaved and twisted so that way it's stronger. And so this step, because it does involve stretching, humbles us. So I recall taking care of a 20-year-old pregnant woman. She was 28 weeks pregnant, and she was exposed to the chicken pox one day before. I was young in my career, and so I confidently explained to the patient and said, nearly everyone who's an adult has been exposed to the chicken pox, but we'll check a blood test to make sure. And so we ordered a stat varicella or chicken pox antibody titer and came back positive, meaning that she was immune. So I confidently said to my patient, don't worry, you're immune, you won't get the chicken pox, we don't have to give you immunoglobulin. Well, much to my chagrin, 2 weeks later, the patient came back into the office with her grandfather, and she had these lesions that were blistering and on her face and her arms and her legs and her chest area, kind of somewhere scabbed over. And I was stuttering. I was in a loss for words because this was clearly the chicken pox. It was varicella. So I finally said, well, it looks like you have the chicken pox. It shouldn't be, but it is. And the patient was distraught, and especially when I told her there was a small but definitely risk of skin lesions, but more importantly, that the infection could go to the baby's brain and cause a brain infection. Well, the grandfather was sitting in the chair to the patient's left. The patient was there. I was sitting on the stool on the patient's right-hand side, and I was just thinking to myself, how is this even possible? Well, that was when I was saved because her grandfather stood up, and he was in his denim overalls, and I'll never forget his words. He said, "Doctor, now I'm just a simple farmer. I don't have any degrees or much education, but I do have some experience when things don't go according to plan. and he put his arm around his granddaughter, and she leaned against him because she was sobbing. And he said, "Don't worry, it's going to be okay." And the grandfather said to me, he said, "Doc, I know you did your best. We know that you worked hard, you studied hard, and we can tell you're shocked that she has the chicken pox. We're not blaming you. We're going to get through this together. Whatever happens, we're going to get through it together." Well, I really learned about humility, poise, and comforting a patient in turmoil that day. Well, 3 months later, the patient delivered a beautiful baby boy, no skin lesions, no neurological problems. And after delivery, I took off my mask, my surgical gown, my gloves, and then I was about to walk out, and Grandpa came over to me, kind of gave me this big hug, and then he just said, "You know, the good Lord above, he did the heavy lifting, but we did our part too, didn't we?" And so that was really, really meaningful because it taught me 3 things. One is science is not perfect. Second of all, we're not perfect. We're going to fail at times. And third, when things don't go according to plan, we shouldn't freeze up. We should be there for our patients. Okay, so after ginning and spinning, the next part is weaving. So it's the interlacing of the cotton strands. So weaving involves fastening some of those cotton yarns in a loom. And so the part that's in the vertical direction, that's called the warp weave. You can remember that because, warp speed, space, so it goes up and down vertically. And so that's placed under some tension because that gives stability to the weave. And then there is the horizontal strand, which is the weft weave, weft. And so that kind of reminds me of the cartoon character Elmer Fudd, who calls, instead of left, it's weft. So you can think about that going in and out to the left. All right, in any case, remember warp, weft. So now, several decades ago, after my first semester of medical school, like many of you sitting in our audience, I was interrupted by my studies of anatomy of the upper extremity by a college friend. He graduated with a degree in electrical engineering like I did, and he was really excited. And he said he stayed in Silicon Valley. He was offered a promotion, he said, like 50% increase in pay, stock options, and then so he was already buying and selling houses at huge profits. And he gave this question to me. He said, "Eugene, are you sure you don't want to join us here? This is probably a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity." This is kind of the beginning of Silicon Valley. And so I had large student loans, probably many of you have the same. And so I was really tempted to jump onto his rocket ship of Silicon Valley, but I am definitely glad that I made the decision to stay with medicine. Caring for patients is definitely it's the ultimate reward. For example, I recall helping an 18-year-old woman. She was 8 months pregnant. The placenta was starting to separate, which leads to bleeding. And so her heart rate and her blood pressure were dangerously low. The baby's heart rate was dangerously low. And so I looked into her eyes as well as her partner and said, "We're going to have to move really fast. We're going to have to do a C-section, and it's going to be dangerous, but we're going to do our very best." So we undertook that stat C-section, and thankfully, both mom and baby made it. And so the patient's significant other, we'll call him Paul, he gave me a really big hug afterwards, thanked me, he had tears, and then several months after that, and then every 6 months or so, he and his wife, they would come in with a stroller to the clinic with their baby, and then Paul, he would point to me and he'd say, "Look at that, kiddo, that's the doctor who saved your life." Well, what were the lessons learned there? First of all, what might seem routine and ordinary to us is oftentimes extraordinary and life-changing for our patients. Second of all, when a mom or dad does point to us and thanks us for saving their child's life or their own life, we should store that in our memory and in our hearts where it's safe and we can treasure it later on, because those memories make it all worthwhile. And thirdly, it's an extraordinary privilege to be entrusted in the life and death and care of our wonderful patients. Well, another reason that I know that medicine was the right choice is because of each of you, the students who are sitting in front of us. At the end of last semester, you each wrote an essay on communicating respect, compassion, and empathy to our patients. I can't read all of them because we don't have time, and Dr. Lahode put me on the clock, if you remember. But here are several quotes representing the profound impact that your class had made on me. From Christina: "The hallmark of extending respect, compassion, and empathy lies in one's ability to extend those qualities to themselves, such as taking the time to perceive the humanity of the patient in the waiting room, reflecting on the positive aspects of the day, and staying connected to one's initial reason for pursuing medicine." From Anthony: "Communicating respect and empathy means being humble and admitting fault when treatments don't go as planned. Doctors are subject to making mistakes too." And finally, from Aloysius: "The onus of the physician is to communicate that they respect the patient, such as showing patience when an individual doesn't fully understand a certain language, especially when it's scientific in nature." Well, with the cotton fabric that we talked about, a thread count is a measure of the quality of that weave in the fabric, which is kind of the number of the weft weaves per inch. So the numbers per inch. Standard is considered 150 threads per inch. Good is 300, and 600 is considered excellent. By the way, I don't know anything about this, so if I'm speaking off, then someone can correct me later on. Okay, now, students, class of 2026. And McGovern, not only do you have the other 239 fellow students with you, but in the MS2, MS3, and MS4 classes, 240 students as well. That's 1,000 students. There are over 1,300 residents and fellows in various training programs here at McGovern. There are over 2,000 faculty here to teach you. So not counting all the support staff and administrators, that's a thread count at McGovern of 4,300 strands per inch, and that's really amazing, isn't it? Finally, remember that any fabric or coat can get torn or stained. So it's important to establish balance and boundaries to prioritize life outside of medicine, enjoy each day, laugh, and relax. And when the white coat of medicine seems too heavy or because of a difficult day, remember that you will always have 4,300 plus individuals to lift you up, and you're never alone. The McGovern family and you are intertwined and interwoven and interlocked. McGovern class of 2026, you will soon don the tangible white coat, a symbolic of the path that you have dedicated yourself to follow. But underneath, there's an invisible white coat, and that's embedded in each of your hearts, upon which I've had the distinct privilege and honor over this past semester, like your other faculty, to place my own weft weave in each of you. And likewise, each of you have left an indelible and beautiful weft strand in the loom of my heart through your stories of how you chose medicine as a career, and pictures of your favorite canine, feline, and even donkeys. And so it is something that I will forever treasure. So today, you start your journey, and decades from now, when you hang up your white coat for the final time, this inner white coat that's invisible to the eye will remain, a brilliant, vibrant, and living warp and weave tapestry created from the hundreds of thousands of positive patient encounters. And this is a tapestry that will sing the melodies of joy, accomplishment, and fulfillment. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Toy. We really appreciate your comments. Thank you, and your stories. At McGovern Medical School, we require that each student sign a student ethical pledge expressing the values of this institution with particular reference to the undergraduate portion of the physician's lifelong education. Students, by signing the book that is displayed at the front of the stage, you are committing yourselves to uprightness and honor in your academic and professional lives, and respect and compassion in your relationships with patients. This afternoon, we have invited Swetha Jayavalu, a member of our chapter of the Gold Humanism Honor Society, to recite to the class the Student Ethical Pledge.
I acknowledge and accept the privileges and responsibilities given to me today as a physician in training and dedicate myself to providing care to those in need. I will approach all aspects of my education with honesty and integrity, embracing opportunities to learn from patients, teachers, and colleagues. I will always maintain the highest standards of professional conduct. I will certify only that which I have personally verified, and I will neither receive nor give unauthorized assistance on examinations. I will value the knowledge and wisdom of the physicians who have preceded me. I will recognize my weaknesses and strengths and strive to develop those qualities that will earn the respect of my patients, my colleagues, my family, and myself. I will respect the humanity, rights, and decisions of all patients and will attend to them with compassion and without bias. I will maintain patient confidentiality and be tactful in my words and actions. I will value the diversity of patients' experiences, cultures, and beliefs because it enhances my ability to care for them and enriches my education. I will not forget that there is an art to medicine as well as a science, and that warmth, sympathy, and understanding are integral to patient care. I will strive to earn the trust my patients place in me and the respect that society places upon my profession. I recognize the privileges afforded to me as a physician in training and promise not to abuse them. Even as a student, I have a responsibility to improve the standard of health in my community, to increase access to care for the underserved, and to advance medical knowledge. As I accept these new responsibilities, I will not forget the importance of my own health and well-being. I will continue to value my relations with those who have supported me in the past and those who will share in my future. Knowing my own limitations and those of medicine, I commit myself to a lifelong journey of learning how to cure, relieve, and comfort with humility and compassion. I make these promises solemnly, freely, and upon my honor. Thank you.
The most tangible symbol of the responsibility and commitment assumed by you, the students today, is the white coat of the physician in training. I will ask you to come forward as I read your name to don your white coat. As you leave the stage, you will sign the ethical pledge book and be given a copy to take away with you. So I will ask the first group of students to stand, and we also have our stage party who will be assisting in donning the white coat. Just in the interest of time, we'll ask that you hold applause until the very end. Caitlin Abel. Andrea Ablin. Will Aberger. Andrew Abikalid. Christina Abraham. Shalom Aquanwumi. Tala Al-Shawa. Amna Ali. Kashik Reddy Alam. Addison Allen. Isabella Anderson. Sam Rudy Arkhacker. Mary Asmati. Now that we've gotten through the A's, we can give the A's a round of applause. Holden Baird. Amira Bhattacharya. Ashwini Bandi. Josh Bandapati. Mitchell Bandy. Krista Bangs. Joshua Barber. Anthony Basta. Alex Bates Artinian. David Beckelman. Zoe Berman. Nathan Bliss. Brooke Bloom. Hansa Bodu. Anna Borwinkle. Graham Brim. Madison Brenner. Andy Brown. Jackson Burns. Rosa Burrows. Ashley Bush. Now that we've gotten through the B's, we're going to give our B's a round of applause. Chelsea Cabral. Peyton Cabrera. Emily Cow. Daniel Chavez. David Chavez. Victor Brian Chavez. Justin Cho. Elsbeth Chow. Adithi Chunduru. Bennett Clef. Margaret Clement. Madeline Conselman. Peyton Conway. Richard Cook. Madeline Cotton. Now we're going to give our C's a round of applause. Neha Dumbala. Shrey Durasari. Ishaf Desai. Yash Desai. Jacob Doddridge. William Dow. Amy Duarte. Jennifer Dunningan. Mara Eccles. Meredith Ellman. Rachel Eisenhower. Okay, we're going to give our D's and E's a round of applause. Erica Banyas. Macy Farnell. Claire Faison. Madeline Fike. Annabelle Fernandez. Aloysius Fombang. Andrew Fombang. Jacob Frenson. Patrick Gaffney. Jacob Galan. Juan Garcia. Samantha Gardner. Nikhil Gatu. Abigail Gorbani. Matthew Gonzalez. Jasmine Grant. Nasrin Gundapani. Daniel Gutierrez. Okay, F and G's, big round of applause. Joshua Haig. Joshua Hack. Priscilla Hoff. Haley Hamilton. Warner Hardin. Elizabeth Harris. Megan Hatcher. Ella Hawes. Cherish Henderson. Isabella Hernandez. Jacob Hirschman. Brendan Hillebrand. Olivia Hurst. Ann Halt. Sebastian Horcasitas. Harrison Howe. Elizabeth Huey. Paul Hung. Nathaniel Hunter. Jacob Hurley. Courtney Wynn. Let's give this group a round of applause. Ayomedi Erbar Musa. Alacia Islam. Ruchitha Jadala. Jevin James. Navia James. Neil Jayarajan. Oriana Jerez Fernandez. Anna Maria Johnson. Anthony Kang. Preeti Cannon. Let's give this group a round of applause. So I'm gonna forewarn you, we're not the best choreographers like the Hamilton stage plays that we usually come see. So you're gonna notice we're a little bit out of order. We're about to do the K's because I know everybody is looking for their loved one. Alicia Cashop. Sydney Keats. Janana Khan. Rita Corey. Brian Kohler. Amanda Kunji. Noah Copeland. Veda Kulkarni. Devin Kumar. Let's give the K's a round of applause. David LaFrance. Mallory Lane. Jordan Lazenby. Michael Lee. Quinn Lee. Sylvia LeBlanc. Deja Lewis. Mary Lee. Anthony Lim. Alicia Lore. Lizbeth Loza. Elo Lozaya. Austin Ludwig. Sebastian Lyos. Sarah Monsarashi. Ernest Martin. Leonardo Martinez. Christina McGee. Nicolesh Mara. Shaylee Modi. Eric Mohan. Shlok Mahati. Collins Makua. Mark Morales. Aditya Moore. Andrew Morse. Natasha Mupidi. Neha Merrily. Hayden Nizer. Ryan Lilo. Sanjay Nirakunda. Courtney Wynn. Rodrigo Ordinas Palacios. Dana Orlando. Anastasia Poppin. Jung Woo Park. Let's give this group a round of applause. Stefan Parlamis. Rohan Patil. Cole Payne. Walker Payne. Emily Peel. Ashley Pelton. Brandy Fan. Viana Fawn. Catherine Pivaliza. Andrew Porter. Ethan Porter. Brianna Pottinger. Kennedy Powell. Jason Pio. Lawrence Q. Ahmed Amar Quadora. Leah Rao. Caroline Record. Beverly Red. Brandon Ryder. Jacob Pierce Reitnauer. Liam Rhodes. Hayden Rich. Malika Tiaji. Luke Twaddell. Bernardo Trevino. Sigba Trahan. Vivian Tran. Kim Tran. John Tran. Yasmin Toy. Katarina Tovar Pensa. Brendan Toulon. Let's give this group a round of applause. Ricardo Tiarina. Jacob Thomas. Anna Claire Taylor. Jennifer Tang. Catherine Tang. Samantha Sue. Annabelle Stolenwork. Brianna Stiggers. Sloan Stabino. Thomas Spackman. Riti Srivastava. Gail Snyder. Keshav Shriva. Benjamin Snyder. Louisa Smitherman. Braden Smith. Bailey Slaywin. Lauren Simmons. Samir Siddiqui. Caleb Shee. Arya Sheety. Vineet Shaw. Hayden Shandua. Jonathan Sauer. Megan Samuels. Karina Samsuhati. Shreya Suthishpa. Landon Roskis. Noah Roberson. Nolan Rizzo. George Uday. Priyanka Veja. Ephraim Vasquez Rosado. Nikhil Vijay. Let's give this group a round of applause. Okay, almost to the end. Uzar Waheed. Kevin Ware. Christopher Welker. Russell Welton. Sage Worth. Haley Wilson. Matthew Wong. Aiden Wright. Sina Wu. Daniel Zhao. Chuhang Xing. Jocelyn Yang. Yasmin Young. Renee Yu. Jai Yusuf. Otaniel Zalaya. Annie Zhang. Audrey Zhao. And last but certainly not least, Winston Zing DeYoung.
I now invite Dr. Sheila Lahode to the podium to lead our students in the Hippocratic Oath.
Would the class of 2026 please rise? Hippocrates, considered by many to be the father of Western medicine, wrote an oath that has become the hallmark of the medical profession and has been professed to, in various forms, by thousands of physicians for over 2,000 years. With only minor changes since it was first written, this oath binds physicians to a code of civilized conduct demanded of those entrusted with healing the sick. Please repeat after me. I do solemnly swear. By whatever I hold most sacred, that I will be loyal to the profession of medicine and just and generous to its members, that I will lead my life and practice my profession in uprightness and honor, that into whatsoever house I shall enter, it shall be for the good of the sick, to the utmost of my power, holding myself far aloof from wrong, from corruption, from the tempting of others to vice, that I will exercise my profession solely for the cure of my patients, and will give no drug, perform no operation for a criminal purpose, even if solicited, far less suggested. That whatsoever I shall see or hear of the lives of men which is not fitting to be spoken, I will keep inviolably secret. These things do I swear. And now, should I be true to this my oath, may prosperity and good repute be ever mine. The opposite should I prove myself forsworn. The class of 2026. Congratulations to each of you on your journey through medical education. Thank you all for coming, and good evening.